Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us JP Morand, who's a registered financial consultant and college funding coach. We'll be talking today about career planning. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, I'm looking forward to learning from you because I recently clipped over 1,000 episodes on this podcast, and I can say, looking back over 1,000 episodes, there is just a nugget of knowledge that I pick up talking to different people from different backgrounds, and it's so exciting just learning from people. So get us started with your background. What has your entrepreneurial journey been like to this point in your career, and how did you get into financial services and college planning?
Thank you. I had, out of college, got into the financial services business, got my start back in 1980 with Payne Weber. I was a stockbroker, realized very quickly that there was more to life than just stocks and bonds, and started focusing on some different things. Got along quite a bit, number of years had passed by, and it seemed like once a week or even more often, clients at the time were saying, how do I pay for college? I can't believe that college is so expensive. And back in those days, it was $5,000 a year. And
oh my
now,
word.
in many examples, it's $55,000.
Yeah.
And so I started working towards becoming a college expert. Next thing you know, I was doing a radio show. Next thing you know, I wrote a book. Next thing you know, I'm helping clients and getting referrals from clients, which is always nice, as to how do I pay for college? And then we started working, recognizing that majority of the college graduates had graduated and didn't like their major. So we started specializing in career and college planning.
Because those really go hand in hand. Because if you start planning for college, that gets you into the right school, helps you pick the major, helps you pick, ways to finance college, all of those things. But then what? And then that merges into career. But then if you're doing a great job for the college bound student, then maybe the parents are like, wow, I'm planning a career change or whatever. So it really has a nice dovetail into all of those areas.
Absolutely, Mike. We realize that we want to be able to help someone, whether it be, in this case, this example, a high school student, determine who they are. Hard to do for a 16, 17, 18-year-old, but who they are, what they want to become, what they need to major in to become that, then what school has that major, and just as important, what prerequisites do they need to take in high school in order to springboard into that college with those prerequisites, graduate in 4 years instead of the average 5, and making sure they found their heart's desire. Hard to do for high school college students, and even harder to do for adults, which we find ourselves helping a lot of adults figure out who they are, what they ultimately want to do.
It reminds me of the book Simon Sinek, Begin with Why, and it really is, like the you start with the end and work backwards, but
begin with the end in mind.
Yeah, the old Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. Well, what's the why? What is the end? And I would suspect that you do face a lot of students, 16, 18-year-olds. They're like, I have no clue. I don't know what I want to do. My mom and dad do this or this, and I don't really want to do that. But where do you start with maybe the why, or helping them clarify their next steps forward as far as what they actually want to do, which would then predicate what should your major be, and then we'll pick the school and all that kind of stuff. But really the major and the end result is, what do you want to do in your career? So you need this kind of a major. Where do you start with helping them with that?
Absolutely. And again, whether it be a high school, college student, or someone that is new into a career path, we want to figure out their personality chart. We want to figure out, again, who they are, their likes, their dislikes, their needs, their wants. Something as simple as, are they a people person or are they a things person?
Mm-hmm.
Then we look at strengths, we look at work personality, we look at their personality table, and we categorize that and determine their strengths and their weaknesses. Uh, we have been using a test for some time that really, really helps us boil that down, and we make that available, at least the initial part, at no cost.
Like a personality test, you mean?
Yep, personality test, career test, and again, what goes along, as I mentioned, with weaknesses, strengths of who they are as a person, and again, who they want to become as they grow older.
So, do you when you have a college-bound student take that test? Do you ever bring the whole family together and share it with the parents, or is it just with the kids? Or my question is, when you share the results with whoever, do you ever get like, oh my word, that is exactly me, or do you ever get, wow, that makes total sense. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that particular direction, but yes, this helps clarify. What are some of those aha moments you get from that personality test?
Sure. We refer to it as a career and personality test. We determine, and we don't want to put labels on someone necessarily, but yet it's helpful to determine their personality type, their career type. And that is the first step, is to figure out their who, what, when, where, how, and why. And we refer to that as their quest, their style, and their strength.
Now, you mentioned like work personality. When I hear that word, I think of like, oh, what's your personality at work versus your personality at, home? So should there be a difference? Like in some ways it should be like, this is me and here I am, no matter whether I'm home or work or fun or whatever. Do you find that sometimes people need to put on, their work personality, quote unquote?
Oh, I think what's important is to help someone figure out who they are, and that's really their style. And again, we can even dig deeper in our reports and determine what is their ideal business environment. Because again, if someone is an outdoors person versus an indoors person, if someone, as I mentioned before, is a people person versus a things person, those are key elements. Again, there are things industries and there are people industries. And Michael, you're in the people industry. Ironically, I'm in the people industry, but yet we deal with things to a great extent, and we need to know what their likes and dislikes are. And our testing gives us the ability to do that.
And so, when you're thinking about a college-bound student and get this dialed in, and now they move through college and they're out, and you're helping them with planning their career. It's not just, hey, I got my diploma, Jeff. Now what should I do? No, that should be done well ahead, because all of that falls into place. So you hear all of the different, Gen Z, Gen Y, Boomer, X, all of those different things. People are different. So what are you advising your clients when you help them with their career planning, when they're on the younger side and getting into the workforce for the first time? How do you help them navigate through what they will deal with in challenging communication styles? Because many times they're not going to just be working with peers. Sometimes they're going to be working with people double their age.
Absolutely. And again, personality charts help us determine whether they're outgoing or they're reserved, whether they're realistic or they're theoretical, whether they're analytical, whether they're structured or flexible. Might seem like confusing words, and our reports do a great job of summarizing that and putting it into easy to understand language. But yet recognizing who we are and recognizing what we want to do with a third of our life.
Yeah.
Recognizing that, how are we going to generate an income? Should we go to college, or should we go to a trade school? Should we, what kind of category? Again, something as simple as working indoors or working outdoors, working with people, working with things. So the more we can help the student, or help that college student, help that college graduate, or even help that young person, or we got a lot of clients that are in their 40s and 50s and exploring a second career. And what should they do? How should this work? The key is exploring, is talking it through, understanding, answering questions. To answer your question, Mike, we do work closely with the parents to interpret the reports for the college-bound student, college student, college graduate, to the extent the parents are involved. It's important to make sure that the student knows who they are, and that a lot of times it's funny, it's uncanny to see the parents saying, wow, that's exactly like you. That describes you perfectly. Because who better knows the college-bound student than the parent?
Well, and I know you do career planning for all ages, and you mentioned, like second career. Well, these days it could be third career, fourth career. Back in the day, you would get out of school, get your job, work 30, 40 years, get your gold watch, retire, and be done. That's an old, antiquated model. These days, people change jobs many times, and many times will change actual careers. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in the whatever industry. I changed a bunch of employers, but many times people will completely change careers. So talk a little bit about when we're talking about this personality style and type and how to communicate. What about for someone that's in their second or third career change that you're guiding them into how to navigate that? Part of the communication process might be for that age person in their 40s or 50s. They now need to understand their personality to communicate to people much younger than them. And that becomes a nuance need, right?
Absolutely. Part of our report is it gives us the best career choice. And again, recognizing it's not a perfect system by no means. But again, if we can stay ahead of it and work on it and understand the positives and the negatives. And we have an example on our website is best career choices. And this particular category, it's broken for this particular report, this particular individual: medical, academic, developer, planner, professional, other jobs that might fit. And again, the example under medical would be psychologist, bioengineer, pharmacist, neurologist, radiologist. And then we have in our reports the career details. We have a video, what's an average day in the life of those careers. So that's kind of a summary of the medical part of the report. But then there's an academic part. Maybe this person doesn't want to be in a lab or doesn't want to be dealing with patients, doesn't want to be in the medical left brain side of things. They might want to be in the right brain academic side of things: college professor, college facilitator, developer, and production. So the report really breaks down the examples, and there are just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of career choices that are highlighted, and the specifics is in these video formats. And what's most importantly, before Mike to review that piece, is try to figure out who you are, or to do, but try to figure out who you are, what you want to become, what you need to major in to become that, what to major in, whether it be a college or a trade school, and then how to succeed once you've accomplished that.
Yep. And I would think also in career planning for adults that one of the questions must be, okay, you're telling me about your current career that you really don't like, you want to get out of. Well, if time was of no factor and money was no factor, and you knew you could not fail, what is it that you feel like you would love to do in your next stage in your career? And maybe that's part of what your these assessments are doing. But I think that if so, you don't want to get out of the fire into the frying pan, so you don't want to, get out of one job into the next that you'll hate. You want to go, hey, I'm 40s or 50s. I'm getting into a new career. Thank you for your guidance. I want to make sure this one is it. And so what do you do with helping that adult to make sure that, okay, I don't want you in 3 to 5 to 7 years to be coming back going, okay, this didn't work. Let me get into the next one. So you want to make sure that you're dialed in and going, this is actually who I am, what I want to do. And then now, where does that lead me? Maybe it means I need to go back to school. And these days going back to school is way easier than, going driving down, sitting in a classroom, because we've got virtual. So maybe some of those things become easier since when your 50-year-old client was in college back in the day.
Absolutely. And again, we had mentioned this earlier. It's not just college, it's trade school. It's affiliate programs, it's certifications, it's lots of different ways to do this nowadays. But once we figure out your personality, and again, we've got sample reports on our website underneath the Career Fitters tab at the very top. The example that I'm looking at now is this particular student, this particular college graduate. It indicates that they're bold, they're perspective, they're honest, they're accountable, they're principled, they're focused, they're determined, they're a great listener, they're reliable, and they're witty. Those are the 10 traits that came up for this particular person, this person that took our test. We then are able to look at their top business points. So again, taking those traits, taking those personality details, and then determining, okay, what's important to the business environment, to a career, to your family. And we have our program called My 7Fs that we're very proud of, and we'll be happy to talk about that at another time. But taking that personality type and what's important to you, to business and home and to family, we can recognize how do we tweak that to communicate with those people that we're working with or that we love the most in our family.
Yeah, I love it. That makes so much sense, and I love the clarity that brings. I always thought that I was this, and then now what do I do about it? It made me think when you were describing that, college age student or adult looking for that new career path. A word that I have taught a class in called intrapreneurialism. So being an entrepreneur, is starting your own business, but being intrapreneur is being entrepreneurial in your job that you're at. So talk a little bit about how, whether it's, college age student planning their first career or someone in their mid, career going into a new field or a new job, what is the mindset that you recommend they go in with? And maybe what intrapreneurial, not going rogue or crazy, but just kind of having that creative, how can I help my division or my boss or my company succeed? Because when they succeed, I know I will succeed. Talk a little bit about some of those mindsets that you can now go into that new career with to make sure you succeed.
Absolutely. And we refer to that part as your communication method. And again, I'll use an example that we have in our sample report. And this particular individual, they prefer to talk with purpose and would rather listen before sharing versus someone that would rather share, or as the old joke is on your mark, go. There's something to be said about on your mark, get set, get set. Depends on how many get sets. Sometimes those left brain people on your mark, get set, get set, get set, and they don't go. So depending, and again, this example we have in our sample report is you may need to depend on facts and principles to support your viewpoint, your communication style of meeting and greeting and working with people. Again, we look at the flip-flop of that. Someone that may not be, facts may not be important, principles and may not be important, and they may be more the right brain side of things, and where it's feelings and it's recognizing that off the cuff, to use that example that we've heard. Communicate. Some people prefer to communicate in person. Some people prefer to communicate written form, email, visual versus auditory, all of those different things. I'm sure that our listeners have heard those different terms, but if we can guide you through in figuring out who you are, what is your communication method, you're going to be more successful in your business, in college, if you're a college student, in business, and certainly with your family and your life.
Yeah, your life, personally and professionally. You're mentioning some of these things, and it reminds me, I want to ask a question around the word mechanical, meaning when I have this report pulled on me and I see that I am this, that, the other, and I need to say this or communicate this way, how do you implement those things without making it feel mechanical or like, what do I need to say here? Because I know that I need to respond with, because there's, it reminds me of being in sales, like, using scripts like, hi, how are you doing today, Jeff? And it's like, no, just talk to me like I'm a human. So when you're advising your clients, how do you say, okay, here's the report, here's what to do with it, but then here's how to kind of make it your own so that it doesn't feel like work?
Absolutely. And maybe that's the absolute key part.
Yeah.
of these tests that we help you administer, is to figure out who you are. Once you figure that out, you recognize that's who I am and be comfortable with who that is. We never want to try to be something else than who we truly are.
Yeah.
From a faith perspective, back to my first F and my 7 Fs is we need to be truthful. We need to be honest. We need to be to recognize that and to be our own person. So often the world we live in, and so often colleges and work environments, is they pigeonhole us, and it never works. And it's no surprise. That's why better than 60% of college graduates and people that have now gone into the workforce chose the wrong career. Chose the wrong career. They weren't true to themselves from the very beginning. So we want them to give them a safe environment and give them the tools to say, this is who I am, and this is the path that I want to choose in my life.
And it kind of like, I'm a big analogy person. So, I guess this is a trait of men. So, like my wife is like, oh, here comes another analogy. But, it's almost like you take a wrong turn on a trip and you go 40 miles out of your way. Well, you can get back to where you were and get back on track, but it might take you an extra 2 or 3 hours. Well, in career planning, yeah, you might have chosen this major, that major, or this path or that path. And maybe it's not what you really, really wanted to do. You can get back there, but it's just going to take some time. So if someone is interested in going, you know what, I'm all about efficiencies. I want to know ahead of time where I should be headed and what my personality traits and my career path should be so that I'm making every step count. What are some ways they can learn more and then reach out and connect with you, Jeff?
Well, and to be specific on that, Michael, so you're in the car by yourself and you realize 40 miles later that you've gone the wrong direction. That's okay. But what if you've got a spouse in the car? What if you have an employee or an employer in the car?
It impacts more than just you.
Kids in the car.
Yeah.
How do you interact with them? Being by yourself is one thing, and maybe you need to find a career where you work by yourself, but yet inevitably you end up working with others. So, what is a ideal work environment? What is the team approach? How do you turn to your spouse and say, looks like I've gone 40 miles too far? Or you turn to the kids, or you turn to, and how do you interact with them? Do you have fun in retracing that 40 miles? Do you feel bad? Do you sulk? Do you take it out, your frustration, on others? If you know who you are, getting where you're going and planning and setting goals and making sure they're measurable, and making sure that those that are around you are buying into your vision, into your dream, into who you are and what you want to become. This is your life, and we need to learn who we are and how to live it.
Well, I love it. And the point that you just made there makes me think it's more than just you. You might have your kids or employees or spouse in the car. In that analogy, it's not just your time, it's their time. And so if you want to make sure that you are making those right steps, how can people reach out and connect with you?
Yes, our website is collegefundingcoach.com, collegefundingcoach.com. And on the top there is our newsletter and our podcast and a schedule a meeting section. We'll be happy to help. Our main telephone number is 303-860-1234, 303-860-1234. Also in the center of our website, collegefundingcoach.com, in the very middle at the top, you can click on newsletters and let us know who you are and what newsletter you're interested in, and we'll be happy to send you one each month.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Michael, and good luck to you, and good luck to all of our listeners.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.